Ladies and gentlemen, episode 1 of the Fair But Firm podcast with myself, Larry Flowers. Long time in the making. There's been a lot of different opportunities for me to do this, but I'm honored and privileged to be able to do it with you, Colin. You and I have become good friends over the years, and you approached me recently about doing a podcast. I've got a lot to say, as a lot of people know. You've heard me on many other podcasts. I love to speak my mind. I've got a lot of opinions. I'm sometimes right. I'm sometimes wrong. I like to think I'm usually right, but I'm always fair but firm. The fair but firm comes from one of my all-time favorite boxing referees, Joe Cortez, who always brings the fighters to the middle of the ring, gives instructions, and follows it with, remember, boys, I'm fair but I'm firm. And that's how I like to think of myself.
We snuck it in on the intro too, which you have not heard yet, but I have been DJing it up for the last couple hours, getting this thing rocking. We have a couple surprises in there for you. You'll hear it when this episode goes live. I think you'll enjoy it. But yeah, we're jacked to have you here at Not For Long Media. You know, for those that don't know who I am, I'll be a part of this journey with Larry in and out of the show. When he wants me to be a part of it, we'll be tied at the hip on a lot of things. Larry's also going to have, old friends on, professional athletes, people in the business, as well interviewed. I'll be in and out of those, but I've been in and out of the NFL for the last 7 years. I created Not For Long Media when I got cut from the Giants, had emergency appendectomy. They told me they'd keep me for the rest of the season, a couple of weeks at least, and they cut me the next day. And I'm like, damn, the NFL stands for Not For Long. So that's why we got Not For Long Media. And we bring people into our media company that are great friends and have a great time. So Larry, we're jacked to have you, man. There's so much we want to get into today. But first, you just had a freaking awesome weekend. Talk about it. What'd you get into? Who were you with?
What a weekend. A good friend of ours, Sheldon Walitsky, good Alberta guy, lives in Colorado, just outside of Aspen. He put together an incredible program for a youth hockey club called the Colorado Extreme. He basically has been putting together this fundraiser with the NHL alumni game with Colorado Avalanche alumni and other NHL alumni, and put together an event that was once in a lifetime, built an outdoor rink. It was absolutely magical. The trip started as good as it could possibly go with myself, Shane O'Brien, Scotty Upshaw, our buddy Evan Knapp. Shout out to you, Evan Knapp. Got us a nice PJ to fly from LA or Orange County direct to Aspen. And there's nothing like flying private when you're flying into Aspen.
That's premier. I heard it. I heard you got to drop down pretty hard to get in there.
So you do. And anyone that doesn't know, Aspen, I believe, is the second most dangerous airport in the United States, right behind Telluride in Colorado. The flight in is absolutely incredible. Now, usually when you're flying into Aspen, it's bumpy. It's a little scary. The weather just changes on a dime. But for us, it was just blue skies. We didn't feel one bump. The flight was absolutely incredible. We just sat around. We told stories for 2 hours. It's as National League.
What are you doing on the plane? Are you boozing? Are you?
Well, we left our flight. I think we took off at like 8:30 in the morning or something like that. So it was an early flight. So we were having coffee. We all sat together. Uppy had his 2 kids with us, so I had I'm really close with his 2 young kids, and I had Isabel on my lap most of the flight, his young daughter, and it was just the boys kind of all facing each other and just telling good stories and getting ready for an epic weekend, and that's exactly what it was.
How long is that flight? 2 hours?
Yeah, it's about 2 hours.
You said it right? Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. I saw some of the pictures. Obi looked like he was moving pretty good.
Obi's an athlete, right? I know he's gotten a little bit on the bigger side in the last couple of years, but he's slimmed down quite a bit. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's in good shape, but he's a pure athlete. And when he gets on the ice, it's like riding a bike. Comes right back to him, and he was smooth out there. And everybody
he looks smooth.
He is smooth. He is smooth. And then you had Upshaw out there that's just going 110 miles an hour, which is the only way he's ever played in the NHL. But he's out there just trying to dangle and doing anything he can to at least get one. He ended up getting 2 in a blowout loss. I obviously was on the winning side, but
how'd you play? Did you get hurt? Did you go down? Did you score goals?
No,
What'd you do?
I actually, I got a lot of slack from a lot of people, but I played pretty well. I could always skate, and I played on a line with 2 young kids. One of the kids actually was one one of the kids on the Humboldt Broncos
Oh
that had the
man.
tragic accident in 2019. Unbelievable kid. And I had, again, I had these two young kids on my line. So they're young and they're flying up and down. So they made me look good. But I played well and I had a great time. I actually, side note, I totally beat Henrik Lundqvist on a shot. I totally beat him. It went right under his pad. It must have been right on the goal line. He closed his pad last second, and he looks down. He looks behind him real quick, and it was just stuck right under his pad. But I had him beat. Damn, I would have loved to have scored on him, but it was
so
epic.
cool.
It was all time.
How did he look? How'd the King look?
We all said it, and especially in the first period. I mean, he was stopping everything. He's the king, man. If he wants to turn around, first of all, for anyone who doesn't know, and as you should know, he's one of the most ultra competitive guys in the world in any sport. That's just how he's built. So, like, we kind of all went into this game thinking, we're all going to have a good time. We're all out there laughing, but competitive juices kind of flow, kind of kick in a little bit. And as soon as the puck dropped, he was just laser focused, and he was unbelievable. Now, obviously, it's a little bit of a challenge. It was a little bit lopsided as far as the rosters as it turned out at the end. We ended up getting 8 on him. But it certainly wasn't for a lack of like effort or skill on his end, because he was unreal.
Yeah, he's a stud, dude. I remember like as a kid growing up watching him against the Flyers, and he was my favorite player, and so was Sid, because I just was in awe and wish we had him in Philly or something like that. The King to me was like not the missing piece for the Flyers, but man, he just was always there and so consistent and so dominant for so long. He always had the sick swag too on the ice, off the ice too. Great looking guy. So
the funniest thing was the game ends and everyone's watching him, and he takes his bucket off and his fucking hair is still absolutely flawless. He has got the nicest set of hair in the entire world. I mean, if there's any guy that wishes they had perfect hair, they wish they have his hair. It's flawless. It doesn't fucking move. And we all laughed about it in the room. We're like, hey, Hank, like, your hair still looks perfect. And he's sitting there just getting undressed, like laughing back at the boys. It was great.
he's got that barber in New York City, right? That's like still like $20 and he won't tell anybody where it is. And it's at the perfect haircut. I don't know if you ever heard that story, but what'd you guys get into after the game, or, some fun?
Yeah, well, actually, the night before we did an incredible fundraiser. We raised, I think we raised at least over a couple $100,000. We auctioned off all kinds of different things. I auctioned off some diamond stud earrings. We had our buddy in. His name is Wiz. He's a fighter pilot who actually fought missions in Afghanistan. He's a badass, real Top Gun. We auctioned off a couple flights with him on his little private fighter plane that he brought in. We auctioned off a bunch of awesome golf trips and stuff like that. So we had a sick party the night before. It was absolutely epic. Then the game happened. The game was incredible. There's a million kids out there. It was completely sold out. I think there was at least 1,000 people there in this outdoor rink. And it happened to be probably the coldest day of the year. I think it was like 3 degrees at puck drop, which is nuts. After the game, we had a huge party. It was just absolutely epic. And obviously, for anyone who hasn't been to Aspen, it's a very magical town. I've been going to Aspen now for 16 years. I started going to Aspen for New Year's 16 years ago. One of my best friends, Cody, and I, and we would go every year for New Year's, and then our friends would kind of jump on the trips. And then some of my friends would start retiring from the NHL, so they would jump on. And so many years later, we have so many friends that own properties there. We go there all the time. I've gone there for New Year's, I think 15 of the last 16 years. So it's kind of a second home to me and all my boys now. And just walking around the town, it's a magical place. It's beautiful. The people are friendly. It's awesome.
Yeah. My brother worked at the Ralph Lauren store there.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day. So I never got out there. It was like right in the middle of my football stuff. Like now that my career's winding down, I've been able to like travel and do a bunch of stuff. But another thing too is like I can't snowboard or I can't skate. Like I grew up playing hockey, but I can't do it because if you're under contract and you do it right, you lose your contract. Like if you get hurt or something happens, like they don't care. So stuff I'll do when I'm done. I want to come out to the game next year. I'll definitely support the event.
You should definitely come out next year. You should be coming out to Aspen anyway. We can set up trips.
There we go.
Place is juice.
It's premier. All right. So listen, let's dive in a little fantasy football. You're but fair but firm. I mean, I hear you're the man. I hear you're Mr. Fantasy Football. The guys on missing curfew are constantly talking shit about your team, the whole nine. So fill our fans in on your team name, the league in general, who's in it, and where you stand right now in the league, sitting here, episode 1, December 14th.
Yeah. So I actually started this fantasy league, I think about 4 years ago. It's called Larry's League. Everyone always calls, there's side jokes within the NHL community that it's not necessarily the NHL, but it's Larry's League. It's kind of a just inside joke. And so I named that for our fantasy league. I've got an unreal roster of guys, myself, Shane O'Brien, Scotty Upshaw, the legend Andy Mack, Andrew McLaughlin, Kevin Shattenkirk, Braden Shen, Jaden Schwartz, Jack Eichel. Who am I missing? But anyway, it's a great league.
Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly's in the league, and it's a great league, and we've been buzzing now for a while. We've had a lot of controversy in the past. I've been referred to many times as Larry Bettman, as the commissioner of the league.
What's the controversy?
The controversy in the first year, I don't know if I should get too much into it because it's old news and it stings a few people, but there was a little bit of controversy within myself and Scotty Upshaw going into the playoffs and some fishy moves that were made with the help of some other guys to play certain guys to try to beat me, and led to things that led to a certain guy winning it all who probably shouldn't have won it all by the numbers. And it got pretty ugly. I'll put it this way. Scotty Upshaw and I, we don't really fight too much. We're like brothers. But we got into it for that. And obviously we got over it, but it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of stress at that time. But we've ironed out the wrinkles, and the league's been great, and it's getting better every year. And so anyway, this year, I went a little bit Eagle heavy. Everybody knows I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I also think, they got great players, and I thought they'd have a great year, and they did, and they still are. But anyway, Larry Flowers, the Bumper Trumpers is my team name. It's a little side joke with my own boys there. But regular season champ, regular season ended last week, and I got a bye week this week, and now I'm watching a few of the guys have to fight to try to take a shot at me in the semifinals. And so it's 2,000 entry per player. If you win the regular season, you automatically get 1,000 knocked off. So I'm already kind of playing with house money. So we'll see what happens, but I like my chances.
Okay. Now what's the strategy on draft day? Is it just whatever falls in your lap, or because I'm tight end heavy, because I like them because there's only 4 or 5 of them that I really get a lot of volume. So I took Kelsey and Andrews this year, and one was my flex, one was my tight end. They get the same amount of touches as wideouts, in my opinion, if not better in the red zone.
Yeah. And
then when I have an injury or something, I can move one, because guys, there's just not a lot of guys in that position. So that's what I do. And then I think a good kicker in defense is extremely valuable. I'll have 3 defenses on my team and see who they're playing, who's not good, and then put them in. So that's kind of my strategy. Now, I had a rough year, but that was for obviously Cooper Kupp got hurt. Kelsey was hurt. So.
Yeah. So funny enough, as far as defense, the way I kind of manage my teams is I'm kind of like next man up type of D. I'm not scared to pick up a defense who's playing against a team that I don't think is that great. But when I'm drafting, I'm real big on a 1-2 combo. I like to pick a quarterback that's got his number 1 receiver that I feel like, based on the draft and how it's shaping out, that I can grab one and then the other real quick. I had the opportunity at number 5 overall to go with Jalen Hurts, which is a win-win for me no matter what, because I get to root for my guy. And on the way back, there's 10 teams. So on the way back, I figured Brown would be available right away. And he was. So I went straight Jalen Hurts, Brown. It worked out great for me. It got me nice. It got me ahead of the curve a little bit in the standings. I was always pretty much about 3 games up on the league until the last few weeks, but it's worked out great for me.
I love it, man. It's some good fantasy football advice right there. You double dip. You get the double dip. Right?
I love the 1-2 combo. You're double. Yeah. And plus with Jalen Hurts, you're getting a lot of runs. You're getting a lot of rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, all the QB sneaks, the tush push, the brotherly shove. Talking a lot of birds. We got to get into it. Listen, lost 2 in a row. They had a mean stretch of teams. Dallas on the road, loss. They're heading to Seattle on the road now. Really tough place to play. I think it's its second toughest place to play in the NFL behind New Orleans. When New Orleans is rocking, it's inside. You can't function at all, in my opinion, and it gets louder. So does Seattle. Don't get me wrong. I know they're historically loud, but I think for me personally, the Eagles getting another day off is huge. The game got flexed to Monday Night Football, which they're started doing later in the year now, which I think is good. Put the good product in the primetime game, grow the game that way. I love it. So I think it's good. The Eagles need another day. They played a lot of games in a short amount of time, and I think they're a little worn down. I really do. And they've been close games. This isn't like we're running the clock out and we're doing, 4-minute offense and we're on the field for, a long drive, finishing in a touchdown. This is like we need bounces to go our way, like a drop touchdown for the Chiefs to win it, like a lot of things. So my initial thoughts are I think they handle business in Seattle. I think it's a veteran team. I think the coaches know that this is a big game. I think the team knows a big game. I think they're going to take care of their guys this week with the extra day off. And I think the Eagles will be fresh and ready to go and knowing what's at stake. They want that first round bye. A lot of veterans on that team that want that week off. What say you, Larry Flowers? What about the Eagles this year?
Yeah, so obviously they came out on a hot streak. They started the season with 10-1. There were a few games. Look, there's two sides of the coin for me. Like, there's a few games, and every game in the NFL usually is close, especially within good teams. There's a few games that were literally toss-ups. They were benefactors of the coin as far as getting the dubs. They got some breaks. Lucky for them, it could have gone the other way. But going into the San Fran game, I think anyone with any sort of football mind or who is honest could tell you that it's probably going to be a real tough match. Eagles on 3 games on 13 days or 14 days. The Niners 14 or 13 days rest. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster. And then, piggybacking off of that, going into Dallas, a team that had, they had that game on the calendar for, since they lost to the Eagles in Philly, the game that I was at on Sunday Night Football. So you kind of thought that there was probably going to be it was probably going to be a tough match for the Birds. But like you said, listen, they're going to Seattle, which is, again, it's tough to fly cross country all the way to Seattle. That's a long flight. You're going back in time 3 hours. But I do think the Eagles will be ready. I also think, listen, when you have a new offensive coordinator, obviously there's times that you need to adjust, and I don't need to tell you, but there's got to be an adjustment period. But I do think there's enough veterans on the team to kind of get the team in order. If they went through the gauntlet, right? And the gauntlet were some really, really good teams, and they were able to win a few games out of that. They lost a couple. If they can get out of the Seattle game with a win, it gets relatively easy going down the back stretch. And I expect the Eagles to win in Seattle. I think they'll correct the ship. They're still a very good team. And I think when push comes to shove and when they're really ready to kind of get a little bit more behind Swift, they haven't really been running him a lot. I kind of have a theory, and I could be wrong. Obviously, they want to win every game, but you can't do what works every single week and expect it to work. Like, there's good defenses that are going to kind of game plan around you. There's maybe things that you don't necessarily want to show. I mean, the casual fan, I think, has this idea where you have to win every single game and that's it. And if you lose a game, especially in Philly, it becomes a huge story and people go nuts. And they call for firings and they do this and that and the other. But at the end of the day, the most important thing in the NFL is to have a strong O-line, a strong D-line, which they have. They have a lot of veterans on that O-line. And I think when push comes to shove, I think they're going to start to really run the ball and impose their will on teams down the back stretch. And I think the Eagles will be fine. I really do. They're too good on paper to fold. And I think when it really matters, if they play Dallas or they play San Fran again, the playoffs going to be a different game.
Yeah, I think the big mystery is the run game this year, right? Like, the Eagles come out against the Bucs. It was a big game. I think it was national TV. And Swift went for 16 for 100+ yards rushing and was really impressive. And now you're at this point where, like, what is up with the run game? Why doesn't Swift get the ball early in the game? Here's the gauntlet that really Larry was referring to. Just close games in general. Go back to the beginning of the season. Eagles by 5 over the Patriots. Eagles by a touchdown over the Vikings. They handled the Bucs. They won by 3 against the Commanders. They won by 9 against the Rams. They lost to the Jets. They beat the Dolphins handily. That was a primetime game. They beat the Commanders by a touchdown. They beat Dallas by 5. They beat the Chiefs by 4. They beat the Bills by 3. Then they get smoked by the Niners, and they got smoked by Dallas. Now you have Seattle, Giants, Cardinals, and then Giants. Same thing for the Eagles is they play Monday, December 25th, Christmas night, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, and they play Monday in Seattle too. So if they played Sunday, they would get back from Seattle really late, probably get back Tuesday morning Eastern time, like 7, 8 a.m. Like you're stuck in traffic, people going to work, and you're trying. That's brutal.
Now, let me ask you a question. If you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan and you go back in time right before week 1 of the NFL season and you say, by this time of the NFL season, the Eagles are going to be 10-3. What do you say? You're okay with that, I think.
I think everyone says that's on par.
Totally. That's
I think
exactly
the one
right.
thing about Philly fans, and you know this, they're smart football minds. They are. You can't bullshit a bullshitter in Philly when it comes to their sports, like period. Right. That's why like the Flyers were written off and they're playing great now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And we're going to get in them in a little bit. But you can't bullshit a bullshitter, and the team has not looked clean. And I'm the optimistic guy. I'm the football guy who says, the football looks good. I like Sean Desai. I know Sean personally, defensive coordinator of the Eagles. He's super smart, intellectual. He's going to figure it out. Like they haven't produced, and then offensively they haven't produced. So it's been a little sketch, and I think they'll be okay. Like you said, there's a veteran team. They have their shit together. I like the coaching staff. Colin Cowherd drives some people crazy, but he always says this: owner, GM, quarterback, head coach. If those three or all 4 of those got their shit together, they're going to win. And Philly has that. Kansas City has that.
They do. And like I said, I think they're going to get it together. It's hard to beat a team twice in a row, especially within the division. Everyone knows San Fran had that game on their calendar from the beginning of the year. But I can guarantee you, if they play Dallas or San Fran again, it will be a tough matchup.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. And listen, when we talk about tough matchups, these Philadelphia Flyers, as we move into their kind of world, I mean, they're up right now against the Washington Capitals 1-0. I think it's middle of the second period here when we're recording. They're third in the Metro. They're super fun to watch. Most importantly, the juice around Keith Jones, Danny Briere, Tortorella has been fantastic. The young teams responded well. Carter Hart's playing great. They're probably going to get poached at the deadline with a couple of their veterans for high draft picks. But other than that, the future is bright in Philly.
It certainly is. It's been tough sledding for Flyers fans for years now, including myself. Diehard Flyers fan, first team I've ever loved in my entire life. Last year, I thought they gave a really good effort. They were fun to watch. They played hard. As soon as the Flyers signed Torts, the first person I called was Shane O'Brien, played for him. I said, Obes, what do you think about him? He goes, Flowers, Philly's going to love him. He's a tough coach. He's tough to play for, but he's honest. He's fair but firm, in fact. And that's how he coaches. He expects a lot out of his guys. But he's a guy's coach. And so far, he's done a tremendous job. And this year, you're starting to see the results of his system, the way he coaches his guys, what he expects from his guys. There's some young players coming up right now for the Flyers. They are hard to play against. They play really, really tough hockey. They forecheck like crazy. They're getting plenty of goals. Obviously, the power play is not elite, but it's come along recently. But the Flyers are no joke. I talked to a lot of guys in the NHL, and there's not a single guy that I've ever talked to that told me that they go into playing the Flyers thinking, okay, this is going to be a cakewalk. It's always going to be a tough game. And so far, they're right there in the playoff hunt. It's exciting to watch. I'm really happy for them. Obviously, the new management in place is great for them. You got guys that understand the city, that understand the organization. And I think it's all up. I think it's all uphill as far as them continuing to build on this. And I think the Flyers are about 2 years away with the cap going up and some big free agents coming up probably in the next couple of years. I think they're going to make a big splash, and the Flyers are here to stay for a long time coming.
I think they are too. They have some, like you said, some young players coming in. They're going to have some money to spend. Danny Briere's the young, smart, aggressive guy. Keith Jones is a pro's pro. I mean, he was great on Missing Curfew. Loved the episode when he was on there. Jonesy was great. So,
and I'll tell you one thing: getting Sean Couturier back. The only thing I don't understand is how he doesn't wear the C right now. I don't understand.
What is that about? That Torts deal?
There's only a few teams in the NHL that don't have a captain. I don't know why they didn't give it to him. That's obviously a inside the locker room thing. I won't even presume or try to guess why that is or is not. But to me, Sean Couturier, obviously Lawton, but Couturier, he's been there the longest. And to watch him play, he's a two-way player. He's so good. He makes all the right plays. He has helped this team tremendously. Obviously, Atkinson coming back. These are two guys that they didn't have last year, which are huge pieces of their roster. But I love what Couturier brings to the squad, and he's made a massive impact, and the results are clear as day.
I will assume, and this is what I would think about the Couturier situation. Torts is really well thought out. He seems like an emotional guy, and he may be emotional. He may coach with emotion, but he doesn't seem very emotional. Like, he's very fact. And he may say, listen, Coots, you're a leader in this clubhouse. You've been here the longest. You're the highest paid. You're everything we want in a captain here, but I don't want to put the pressure on you coming off 2 years of not playing hockey to go on that ice and then be a captain and then handle the media and then do this, all the events that come with being the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers in the city of Philadelphia. So it could be a way to protect him for a year. He may come back next year. He's healthy. His back's feeling better because I'm sure, I know this from going through injuries playing football, the amount of work he's playing in to stay upright right now is a lot. It's a lot of time. Yep. So that'd be my guess, Larry. But you're right.
You nailed it. You got to just trust what Torts is doing. He knows his roster. He knows his room, and he's the boss. He's the captain of the ship right now, and whatever he's doing is working. So let's go. Keep going, Flyers. I love watching them play. It really is a treat.
It's good for the NHL.
Everyone I've ever talked to who's a player in the NHL or ex-player in the NHL, all of them, they all say the NHL is a better league when the Flyers are good.
And that's a credit to Ed Snyder, though, right? Like that era, right?
Arguably the greatest owner in all of sports. I mean, he's one of them. He was a pioneer. He's an absolute legend. And I will say this: there were some years there where I'm pretty sure that had he been around, he would probably be very, very disappointed in the direction of the Flyers and what they were doing everywhere, everything from management, ownership, all the way down. But I'm pretty sure if he's watching right now, he's got a little smile on his face as far as like, okay, things are getting turned around, which is exciting.
And I think for like just a fan that's casual, you're like, man, they're not in the right direction. But what got me is some of our guy listens to Chicklets all the time and then listens to Mission Curfew and kind of has a pulse on the NHL. It's my escape from football. The issue was that they weren't treating players right. They weren't treating people right. And that's what, listen, it wasn't all, you didn't win all the time. And you won cups back in the 70s. I get that. But like a lot of players wanted to play in Philly. And I think that was the scary part when it was like, I don't want to play there anymore.
There's a couple guys I've spoken to in the past few years who told me stories about, and I won't name them by name, but guys that came in to play for the Flyers were very excited, heard incredible things about the way the guys are treated and the amenities and the flights and the planes and this, that, and the hotels. And then they get there and they're like, man, this is not exactly what I thought it'd be like playing in Philly. So that's definitely a big thing. Obviously, Ed Snyder was one of those like early on Mark Cuban type of owners. He gave the players everything. He would go in the room. He treated every player like they were his family. Guys absolutely loved him. They felt like they truly had a relationship with him further or further past just their professional careers. They could talk to him about anything. And I think the Flyers lost a little bit of that, but hopefully they're continuing to rebuild on that. And look, the Flyers are corporate owned now, so it's a little bit of a different feel. But hopefully they understand that, listen, if you want to win in the NHL and you want to sign big names, you got to treat guys like elite athletes, and you got to make them feel real comfortable and warm and give them all the amenities that they need in order for them to feel like they're in a great place. And I think they're going to get back to that, especially with the new, with obviously Briere and Keith Jones.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with those two. It makes a difference. I mean, for me, the best organization I played for, the Minnesota Vikings. I was with them for 5 weeks in training camp. It was awesome. Like, first class, top to bottom. Giants were like that way. First class, top to bottom. And all of them, I played for all great ones, but some just stick out more than others. Like, it's okay to be great. Some are like excellent. And the ones that are organized, that the reason why their name are synonymous with success in any organization, just like
I saw a list that came out recently. Actually, tell me if you think this is true. I think they listed number 1 in the NFL best places to play was in Minnesota.
Yep. So the best thing the union has ever done, my opinion, our union, and the NHL should do this. So anybody listening and has some influence on it, they're going to probably steal it. I'm assuming what the NFL union did was players can anonymously grade everything in your facility, from literally like house the cold tub area, to house the dining room area, to house your strength coach. Is there enough room in the weight room? House the equipment staff. Like, everybody gets a grade. Everybody in the building. Where before you could just hide. You could hide, and you're grandfathered in, and the owner likes you, and the GM and the head coach like you, and you can never get fired because it's like an old boys network. Totally. Well, now they held people accountable. The Vikings facility, they spend money on players, they spend money on facilities, they take care of you. It's freaking cold, but it's a great place to play. Their stadium, if you ever have a chance to go, you went for the Super Bowl. It is breathtaking.
It absolutely is. It's absolutely gorgeous, minus the weather that day, but it was a warm day when I left that place. I'll tell you that.
I bet it was. So, hey, we got to get into the holiday spirit, man. I'll be heading back to Bucks County. This is my first holiday I've been home. I was doing the math the other day since 2015. I was in a bowl game in Boca, December 22nd. Flew home the next day after we lost the Cream Hunt in Toledo, and on a stinky. We reeked, dude. We went out like every night. It was a mess. And we had guys throwing up on the field during practice, and off the hookah, West Palm Beach. If you signed up with if you signed up with like a text, right? Like their text program, you got free booze. So we all signed up, free wells all night long. So we were hurting at practice, and we got smoked by Toledo. Neither here nor there. Yeah. So I'm excited to be home for the holidays. It's good to be back. Bucks County, a little Peddler's Village, a little, get up at home in Philly. It's great for the holidays. What's your plans for you personally?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about, I was supposed to maybe be going back to Aspen, but I think I'm going to fly back to Philly, go see my girl who's up in North Jersey. You know what I've never done in my entire life? I'm a Philly guy. This is actually pretty crazy. I've never done the Mummers Parade.
Uh-oh.
Never. So I think I'm thinking about dipping my toes in the old Mummers Parade on January 1st. Anybody that doesn't know what the Mummers Parade is, it's a legendary New Year's Day parade, one of the greatest parades in the United States. Different mummers groups get together. They make these massive floats, these costumes. It's really a spectacle. I've always watched it, but my mom went last year. She's like, Larry, you should see this one day. You should come sometime. I know you've never done it, which is actually crazy. I mean, I'm always traveling on New Year's. I'm always either in Aspen or, when I was young, I was always traveling.
Oh, you got to do it, dude.
I think I'm going to, and I'm very excited to be able to do that. But before I do, obviously it's the holiday season, so I'm slammed with work. I've been very, very busy, very, very grateful to be this busy. Obviously, I'm in the jewelry and watch space. So this is my time. I mean, I'm busy all year, thank God. But this season, especially, I've been absolutely slammed. I've got incredible clients. People are buying all kinds of great jewelry, beautiful stuff. So it's been great, but I'm just going to ride this thing out. Normally I leave just before Christmas. I'm going to stay all the way through Christmas this year and absolutely grind myself down as much as I can before I figure out exactly where I'm going to go. But I think I'm going to fly back home to Philly.
I like it. I like the energy behind that, because maybe we'll be able to hang out, maybe see our boy Sean. Shout out.
Big shout out to my boy Sean Handler, all-time legend, one of my closest friends. He's an absolute beauty.
He really is.
He's awesome. Listen, for anyone who has, and first of all, let me make this clear. I am very, very privileged. I've got incredible friends in my life. I've been shown so many different worlds and had the privilege of being a part of so many things that, based on my bank account, I shouldn't be doing. But a lot of really good friends have taken me along the way on their journeys and shown me so many different things. And it's been incredible so far. Sean Handler's one of them. He opens his home to me every time I come home. His family is incredible. Jen and the 3 kids, they're just beautiful people. We go to a lot of sports games together. He's incredibly generous. And as a matter of fact, I talked to him yesterday. He's going to be in Margate, New Jersey over New Year's. And he says to me, if you want to go to Philly, my house is yours. So he's that kind of guy.
He's the best, man. Yeah, he's a good dude. A little Mummers action. Okay. Yeah. Maybe twist my arm to come up to that. You met Albert, my boy, South Philly Albert. I think there's like another side parade. I don't know. It's in South Philly. It's not it's like at nighttime. Like it happens at night on New Year's Day, like night. Supposedly it's like another smaller street. It's like debauchery.
Sounds like Philly Mischief Night, part 2.
Part 2. I don't know. So it's definitely it's a great time of year, man, and to be in the Northeast, and it's nice for it's cold. You need a little cold weather.
I love the cold. Listen, I live in California now 21 years. Everyone's like, how's the weather? It's so nice, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm a hoodies type of guy. I run warm anyway, but I love putting on some layers. When I was in Aspen, I was just breathing the fresh air as best I could because the air's thin up there. But I love putting on hoodies and layering, and the crisp air is nice for me. I played hockey my whole life, so I always took to the cold. So living in Southern California, it's nice, but especially in the summer, it's a little bit too hot. But I'm looking forward to coming back and getting that cold, those cold vibes again. And you really don't feel like you're in the Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's vibe unless it's a little bit chilly, right? When you're out here, it's just a little bit different. It's warm out, you just don't really feel like it's Christmas.
You got to put the zip up on and get out there. The old Patagonia, boots, and then you're done. After New Year's, out. I'm going to Florida. I'm out of here.
Totally.
All right. So the boys are missing curfew. Shane O'Brien, Uppy.
Oh boy. Good
friends of yours. We have an old clip here. We had a refurbished back. Jack in the back's ready to tune this thing up right now.
Oh boy. Fitzy, thank you, Fitzy. I love you, buddy. Flowers. You know why he didn't get back to you, Fitzy? Because you don't play in the NHL. He's not going to jock sniff you all the way to the fucking, all right? If you would have played the NHL, you would have been in your DMs jock sniffing you. Let's be honest. Flowers is the biggest jock sniffer in the world.
Totally.
He's a jock sniffer.
Yeah, plus he's never won anything in his life. So he's sitting there like probably jealous that you guys won the Vermont championship. And he's just,
Yeah, he got cut from his junior Pee-wee team probably, Flowers. When Flowers played in that Shuppy's turn, I'll be honest, Flowers is terrible.
Terrible. He can't even skate.
He can't shoot?
No. I tried to pass him once on the 2-on-1, sorry to cut you off. And it fucking just laid flat, fumble, and missed the net. And I said, that's the last pass you'll ever get from me.
Wow. What are your thoughts? You've been waiting. The pod has been born so you could talk shit back to the boys. What do you got?
I texted them both yesterday. Tomorrow's episode 1. Now I got the mic, motherfuckers. So it's on. All right. Let me just say this to both of those guys, Shane O'Brien, Scotty Upshaw. They talk a lot of shit. But that's how I know. That's how I know they love me. I love them just as much. They're two of my best friends in the entire world, and they have an incredible podcast of Missing Curfew. They've made me a big part of the podcast, which I'm completely honored. They're doing such a good job, and I think after this past weekend on the ice, I think they won't be talking any more shit about my game because I was out there buzzing. But all kidding aside, listen, I love talking trash with them, and we're going to be talking a lot of trash back and forth from this podcast back to theirs. But they're incredible friends, and I love them both with all my heart. I truly do, and I'm grateful for their friendships. Those guys, Loophole, Cody, Mac, the list goes on, but all these people have helped me get to where I am. Maybe on one of these next episodes, we'll talk about some of my downfalls in my life and how I've come from that back to here. And those guys are a big part of it. So to my boys, Uppy, Loops, Obes, everyone, I love you. Thank you. You've been a big part of my life, and you're a big part of this podcast moving forward. And I appreciate you. Fuck you.
Well, that's it. Anything else, Larry? Episode 1 in the books. Episode 0. If you listen to this for the first time, we did an episode 0 at Avenue Steaks in South Philly. We call it episode 0 because, we're just getting into it. We're explaining the nitty gritty, why we're here, what we're doing, what Larry's all about. So check that out if you have missed it. Anything else, Larry?
I think that's it. Very, very exciting to keep this thing buzzing. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. Again, I've got a lot of opinions about things, and as we continue to progress and build this thing, I think it's going to be very exciting. We'll bring some sick guests on. I have an incredible network of guys, and I'm looking forward to keeping this thing rolling.
Fair but firm, Larry Flowers, episode 1.
My boy.